points if you kill a Deadeye as well.
I see. Shaggy,
Even though like Elves in theory would be a deck that is not like very susceptible to the poison and other
I think we're
controls,
live.
suddenly Hossen comes in and slaps you in the face.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So Shaggy, I told you at the 5-minute mark, you gotta keep quiet.
I can't help myself. Sorry, man.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I'm glad you guys were bonding. I guess there's no other word for that. But anyways, welcome everyone to episode 7 of the Bandit Hideaway. It's been a really good journey. We've finally marked our 7th episode, so I'm sure you guys are enjoying it. I hope you guys are. And today we are having an exceptional panel, I must say, because we have some really great names here. And I will start off with my co-host today, who is a pro player and is a part of Team Bandit Gang with me. Please go ahead, Energiix, and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Energiix. I'm a pro player on Team Bandit Gang, and I play a lot of Gwent.
We know.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. Anything else about your, maybe like what you do in real life or something?
In real life, I'm a motion graphic designer at a branding agency. So the cool intro Zubedoo just showed, I made that for this wonderful person.
True. That transition that you guys saw today was made by our very own Energiix, and really good job, Energiix, on that. Must say, really liked it. Alrighty.
You're welcome.
Okay. Our first guest that I'm going to be introducing to you guys today is, of course, I think you guys see him always on the weekdays. You guys love his streams. You guys love his theory crafting, his roping, literally everything about it. And that is the one, the only Shinmiri.
Thank you, Zubedoo. That's a really generous introduction. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great as well. Glad to be here. It's been a while since I've been on a podcast, so just really happy to come on here and chat with you guys as well as Shaggy. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, I can't wait as well to get started. And our second guest that we have is, I think, a very wholesome person, I'm pretty sure, because whenever I get into a stream, I just love watching him, not for the Gwent, but for the kind of person that he is. And that is Mr. Shaggy. How are you doing today?
Wait, you were actually talking about me? I was like, okay, who's up next?
Oh.
Thank you very much, mate. I'm doing well. I'm just chilling here. Taking a little break from the World Masters prep, which I'm keeping myself busy with these days, and also getting ready to start my end of season climb pretty soon for the top 8. Hold my World Masters position in terms of crown points, and yeah, I'm glad to be on the show, and yeah, can't wait to dive into just all the predictions and all the speculations about what we're gonna see at Masters.
Of course. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. And you sent a very good message to the pro players like Energiix that you better watch out. He's coming for that top 8 position. Okay, so let's get on with obviously the first topic that we're going to be talking about, which is the pro prep, the approach, and the analysis, right? So, of course, we know that you guys will be analysts on the Gwent World Masters tournament, which is insane. So, beginning on that, let's talk about stuff like mindset, right? When you're in such a big stage of the game, where, of course, there's a lot of money on the line. People know that there's a lot of money to be earned. So what kind of a mindset do you think would be the right one in terms of approaching such a tournament? Anyone can go first. Anyone can go ahead and answer.
You're talking about from the player perspective or from the analyst perspective?
Oh wait, why is my introduction starting? Oh god, already I had to pause that. Okay, so stopping that. Okay, from the player's perspective, I would say from the player's perspective.
Yeah, I think. Well, I've never actually been on the big stage as a player. Shaggy has, so maybe he can add his perspective to this afterwards. But I imagine that you just try to approach it from. You try to forget that you're on the big stage, right? Because that's just going to create more pressure. We saw like last Open with Forever YOLO that he started out 0-2 in his first series, and then he just he put on the music, started jamming, just getting into the environment, the same environment that he just plays ladder on, and that he just, he's just having a good time. Yeah, exactly, Shaggy. and he was able to like calm his nerves and turn it back around and do the reverse sweep. So I think that's what you're trying to do most of the time as a player.
Okay. And Shaggy, what would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, exactly. Like, dealing with the pressure is obviously a very hard part of being on a big stage. Like, almost every time, still to this day, even though I've been like in a bunch of tournaments now, it's still like heart starts beating, hands start shaking, and you're like, oh, ooh, this is the real deal, right? But you have to try your best to like just calm your nerves and like get into like a zone. Yeah, just listen to some music, like try to get yourself comfortable. And usually for me, like once I'm actually in the game, I manage to like put all those feelings aside and just focus straight up on the game. I have like the opponent's deck list, I have my game plan, my hand, and I just straight up figure out everything, or try to like figure out everything in game and leave everything that's like thinking about money and winning and stuff like out of the game, right? Because if you have that on your mind all the time while playing, your gameplay is gonna suffer, and it's gonna be quite hard to be on like show the best gameplay you can show, basically.
All right. And
yeah, so in terms of
go ahead.
I mean, I was gonna like bring up the next topic, like in terms of preparation for World Masters, we have some players who haven't been playing for quite a while, right? And some other players who have been like non-stop playing the entire time. And I feel like you also have to, when preparing for the tournament, put your ego aside and realistically estimate how good you are as a player in relation to the other player base. Because, for example, if you consider yourself a weaker player, if you know that some other players have the advantage because they have been jamming a lot and they have all the experience and they just know like the meta in and out and the current cards in and out, it might be better to just like in preparation focus on trying to like take some player agency out of the game by, for example, going for a lineup that focuses more on targeting something specific, or focuses more on getting like the deck building advantage, the lineup advantage, while a better player can maybe try to like just bring the best decks and outplay people for the weaker players or the players who haven't been playing for a while. That option is a lot less appealing, and you have to like realize that as well.
All right. And Energiix, as a pro player yourself, what do you think of those points that they have shared right now?
Yeah, I think the mindset is very important, especially going into a tournament. Just getting into the regular flow is the most important thing. Like, I used to not play music during tournaments because I want to be like hyper focused, but normally when I play Gwent I always just listen to music, so I think I actually do better when I just stay in the same way as I normally play Gwent, and just that's how I also focus on ladder. So in tournaments I think it's the same way.
Alright, so basically treat it like any other ladder game is what you guys are saying, right? In short, just don't think of it as being something which is on a next level thingy, but hey, just have fun and play your cards, and hopefully you draw them, right? So yeah, that's definitely the right thing. Alright, so that was a nice talk we had on the mindset. But okay, now coming to the prep part, I think Shaggy, you were already talking about preparation, building decks and things like that. So on that note, some of these guys who are going to be in the tournament are part of teams, right? Like there's Arathusa, there's TLG, and of course they're not going to be preparing all on their own. They're going to be having their teammates backing them up, analyzing the meta, seeing potential decks being on the ladder or decks being brought into Masters with the likes of, we have Tailbot and Magpie, who we don't know what they will bring sometimes, right? Because how they are, they can really spice things up. So this cooperative preparation, how would you like to comment on that? Like, how does it help in a way? And especially in such a big stage of the game?
I think the team aspect definitely helps. Like more people taking a look at it to get different perspectives. It also helps with like manpower in terms of testing lineups and specific matchups, right? Yeah, I think you're totally right about like this Gwent Masters lineup having a lot of players that are potentially known for bringing spicy stuff. Magpie likes to hard target and bring unique decks. Tailbot likes to target. Freddy Babes brings random stuff like Gaunter, Odim, or Mill to tournaments in the past before. So like you always have to be on your toes. I'm hoping that they continue with that pattern and bring spicy, unique decks to the lineup to Masters, because that'll be very interesting and fun to watch, cast, and analyze.
Okay.
I definitely think we're gonna see some super juicy piles this Masters for sure. Like, just at the like base level, you have like kind of a triangle where you can decide for like an approach to a lineup, which is like first you just bring a hard target lineup and try to completely block one of the opponent's decks from winning, which in Conquest is always a very nice strategy. Second, you just bring like really good decks and hope you beat the piles and like try to outplay. Or thirdly, you bring like some more off-meta things that try to avoid getting targeted, right? And basically like the target lineup beats the good decks beats like the trying to avoid targeting thing, and the decks that try to avoid getting targeted beat like the target lineup. That would be like the basic triangle, and like what most players should be trying to do in the prep is break that triangle by basically doing two or even all three of those things at once for like the master lineup, the best lineup in the world, basically, right? And it's going to be interesting to see everyone's approach to that. Like, definitely a lot of different approaches. As you said, like Freddy Babes just brings the most crazy stuff. He's known for like bringing Gaunter, Dim, Angulem is like one of his specialties, and he's like gonna definitely bring some nice decks. Tailbot also loves to bring some off-meta stuff, some of his own decks. Magpie with his hard targeting lineups. Magpie was like the first person to create the Keltulis deck that we know nowadays as a hard target lineup for Skellige Warriors back in the days, and like super big respect to him for that, because like that Keltulis deck has just been sticking around as a great tournament deck to this day. And yeah, for Team Aretusa, Life Coach and Game King, like it's harder for me to talk about those. Like, I also don't want to give anything away of like what I've been like basically doing in the prep before the Masters actually happens and before the deck lists are out, right? So I'm gonna be a little bit more careful there. But yeah, I'm definitely promising you that you will see some spicy lists and some decks that maybe some of you have never seen before.
Oh.
Nice. Yeah, I think something Shaggy mentioned before is like, yeah, some of the players that have been away from the Gwent scene for a while are maybe not as experienced, so they have to rely more on the deck builder and getting an advantage in the deck builder. Maybe bring something spicy, some hard target lineups. So I expect to see at least some unique things, and I hope that not everybody just brings the good stuff lineup.
And good stuff meaning stuff like what we are seeing now, stuff like V and Kelly, you mean? Or like what?
Good stuff, I think good stuff right now is just like Pirates Cove. In the qualifiers tournaments, we saw a lot of like Elves and Reckless Flurry. So I don't know if that's what's considered the good stuff at the moment, but just like standard decks that just typically do well in tournament settings, with blue and red coin being fixed.
Okay. And Energiix, how would you like to comment on this?
On what part? The prep part, or more the?
Were you even listening?
I was listening. Yes.
Okay. So basically, what we were talking about is all this stuff about spicy decks and bringing unique lineups from stuff like that. Yeah. So what do you think?
What you saw during qualifiers is everybody hard targeted monsters. I think there were only a few people bringing monsters themselves, and the people who brought monsters mainly brought Vi. Because everybody was expecting a lot of Kelly, because Kelly on ladder at night could be really smurfing with a lot of people playing more Devotion right now, especially with Syndicate. And then when they don't have a morals, they just get smurfed on by Kelly.
Okay. And alright, so staying on the topic of deck building and stuff like that, when you're preparing for such a thing, like, do you basically, purge all of your decks and make decks from, scratch? Is that one of the approaches that that pro players do? Because I'm not too sure. Like, I'm not a pro player yet. But is that something that we would expect even from these Masters players doing, for example? Like, just purge all their decks, maybe study a meta report which was recently out, and build something from scratch and test it. Is that one of the approaches that they do as a pro tournament thingy?
No, yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
think so.
You have to look at obviously all the decks that are currently in the meta and the known decks from like qualifier deck lists, what's popular on ladder, what like meta reports say. But in the end, like most lineups that consist of these known decks are quite predictable. They are targetable, and like people like know what these decks are about already, right? And it's also very possible that, for example, you have 3 really nice decks that are like known decks, more popular decks that people already know, but like no 4th good deck basically fits that lineup super well. So maybe you have to like basically start from scratch there and build a deck completely from nothing that exactly fits into this lineup and that has similar matchups, because obviously in like a lineup you want ideally like one deck that everything is weak against, so you have a clear ban. Although in this case, with Syndicate being that powerful, I have a hard time seeing many Syndicates not being banned, so it's a little bit easier in that case. But also just like all decks being strong against certain stuff also has a big advantage in Conquest, because you can just, as opposed to like beating different decks from the opponent, you can just beat the same deck over and over and over. And if you can accomplish that, then it's also just a very strong way of gaining an advantage. So I definitely think that we're gonna see some new decks, or like some decks that have fallen out of favor at least and haven't seen the light of day in quite a while, being brought to Masters. Like, I would be very surprised if it was just basically completely standard decks like the known 3 monster decks, Kelly, Vi, and Araka Swarm, like Foscaltel, like Elves, Foscaliga, Flurry, and Warriors, right? I think we're gonna see more diversity there, and we're gonna not see just the same lists that we have already seen run around this meta, like in the qualifiers and on ladder.
Okay, Shinmiri, would you like to come in?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Shaggy said, and these players are really, really good players, not just specifically for Gwent, but in card games in general. They're not your typical net deckers, right? They're not ripping decks off of meta reports and just playing them card for card. These are great deck builders as well, so I definitely expect them to be, during their prep, to be trying to build new decks from scratch, at least experimenting to see if a brand new deck can potentially fit into a lineup or fit into a targeting strategy, something like that. So while I don't know if you're going to see a completely brand new archetype brought to Masters, I expect these players to be experimenting with these sort of things, at least try them out.
Okay. Energiix, how would you like to conclude on that?
Yeah, I think they're gonna try to see what the good decks are out there right now.
Yes.
And adjust to that. Like, I'm pretty much sure that everybody's just bringing Cove. There might be occasional line pockets if they want to have more control. Other than that, I think they will search for decks that are not getting targeted by matchups that people are gonna try to target monsters again. At least that's what I would think people are gonna do.
Yeah.
And then you just try to adjust your lineup so you don't get hit by people trying to target monsters.
Yeah.
So what I actually did wrong this qualifier, I brought Nilfgaard, and Nilfgaard plays a lot of tall units with Joachim, and you actually get completely wrecked by people trying to target Kelly with the Curse of Corruptions and Spores and Heat Waves. So it's like a misjudgment in, like, I knew everybody was going to hard target monsters, and then I bring a match a lineup where one of my decks actually gets countered by the targets as well.
Right. But okay, in that sense that, alright, people are going to be teching against stuff. Like, the thing is, all the players are going to be in that same mindset, right? But of course, they will be taking kind of their personal, thoughts as well for that, maybe a particular player. For example, suppose we see Life Coach. We've been seeing when he was streaming, like, his syndicate stuff and things like that. He was playing such crazy things, right? He was playing Lieutenant Von Hurst in a line pockets deck because of the Firesworn tag and the engine value and things like that. But people would never think of that. If you tell someone to put Lieutenant Von Hurst in a line pockets deck, you'll call him crazy, right? Or the other word that people like to use, but we cannot use it here. But it's like, how do you think people are going to be taking that sort of thing into consideration as well? That okay, this guy is going to be building stuff like this, but would I even care that if he plays this certain card? Like, how will that be considered as well?
I mean, I think
it's super hard to take that into account, right? Like, we have so many different players here with like a lot of players being known for just bringing some super crazy off-meta stuff. Like, as we said, like Freddy and Magpie, I'm definitely expecting some super juicy piles from them, which I have no idea what they're gonna bring. Like, that's like the hardest part of preparing for tournaments like this is like correctly predicting how other people are gonna think about the preparation and how other people are gonna think about lineup building. Because if you predict correctly what a majority of the field is gonna do or not do, you're gonna like have a very, very high chance of winning the tournament if you just estimate correctly what you need to be good against, what you need to be afraid of, and what you can afford to give up like percentage against, basically. And yeah, it's just super hard because it's like a bit of a guessing game, and like you might go like on the first level of psychology and think like, okay, this guy is certainly gonna bring this because he's been playing it a lot, and then this guy is thinking, oh yeah, I've been playing this a lot to put people off like the correct track of me actually not bringing this. And it's just super hard to like predict everything, and we have so many different players which are like all known for bringing like different lineups, right? Like some players are known for just bringing good decks, some people are known for bringing their own homebrews, some people are known for targeting. It's just such a diverse field that it's super hard to predict correctly what you actually need to be good against.
Yeah, there's no way to actually predict like specific tech cards, like Von Hurst in line pockets as your example. I think with open deck lists, you just kind of have to wait until you get the deck list, then take a look at all the surprise stuff, and then practice a lot against those specific lineups so that you know the ins and outs, the nuances to piloting that deck or against that deck. And yeah, with to add to what Shaggy said about like being able to predict what the other players are doing, what kind of lineup strategy they're taking. I think a really good example of that was Challenger 4 back in the beta days. Demorcus and Andy Wand, they brought a super greedy lineup against the field of everybody that just played like Point Slam and undisruptible Point Slam decks. Everybody else was basically playing that. Nobody was really playing super greedy lineups on the ladder at the time, and they brought like the perfect lineup for that tournament, and they both got into the finals. And yeah, they kind of just like rolled over the competition, and because they had such a huge advantage in the deck builder. I don't know if we're gonna see that this time. This time it's a little bit harder because I think there's like a fourth. There's a quest. Everybody I think is on a quest to find a good fourth deck. It's not like last open number 1 in season 3. There were like 4 main factions that were the good factions, and then like NR and ST I think were considered bad factions, and then the 4 good factions all had like one archetype that was very stand out. Like there was Line Pockets, Blaze of Glory, Line Pockets Warriors, and then Double Cross, or the Assimilate Ball deck with Double Cross Cantarella, Joachim, and then Monsters had a few different decks, right? Monsters had like both Keltullus and Arrakis Swarm. But for the most part, the lineups were very homogenized in the last open, and that was because like there were exactly 4 factions that were considered better than the rest. But right now, I feel like that's not the case. So I think we're going to see a lot more variety at World Match.
Yeah, I think apart from, well, some people do say that NR is, pretty hard right now to really push and to get a good score. But there are some players out there who are really taking NR to the next level, right? If you see the likes of Miyamon and the likes of such players, they make it look so easy. But I think
even Nick are just qualified with Witches, right?
True.
I think at the current state, there's actually a struggle to find a fourth factions. I think there's 3 factions that are just like solid, and then you're gonna struggle with bringing your fourth in a tournament lineup.
Yeah, I think the fourth thing is what everyone is having issue with, right?
Yeah.
I think
even on ladder you see it.
Exactly. I think I literally saw Spyro's title today saying, what is gonna be my fourth faction? So it's like people are definitely trying to figure out what they're really wanting to push, maybe to the 2600 mark or whatever. And that could certainly kind of reflect in the tournament meta as well, because they want to bring what will win, right, ultimately. But of course, when it comes to Masters, it is a little difficult because, well, there is going to be some spiciness, right? But, alright, so I guess we've spoken enough about preparation and approach. Let's talk more now about analysis, okay? So you guys are going to be analyzing the Gwent World Masters. Shin and Shaggy, you guys have the honor, I guess, of analyzing it. So first of all, how do you guys feel?
I'm excited. I think it's awesome to be working with Shaggy.
Yeah, I'm just super stoked to be getting this opportunity, honestly. Like, I just reached out to CDPR because actually I heard from Shinmiri that they were potentially considering adding another analyst for Masters. And yeah, I just was in the talks with them, and I tried my best to present myself as like the best option for the analyst, obviously, right? Like, I wasn't like, lying or anything, but I was definitely presenting myself in the best light that I could, and I actually got the position, and I'm just super happy about it. It's a great opportunity for me to just be on the big stage as like behind the desk this time instead of like just as a player, right? And it's gonna be like a different experience as well. And I mean, analyzing Gwent games, analyzing what's happening and how lineups match up against each other, what plays are really good, what plays are not so good, is something I'm like constantly doing anyway. So I think I'm really gonna be in my element here.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was such a good decision to bring Shaggy onto the analyst desk. He's got a lot of experience with pro Gwent, the pro Gwent scene, what's in the mindset of the players, how to approach a certain situation and determine which line is best. So I think he's going to do an awesome job. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to co-analyze the games with him, and I'm looking forward to working with him.
For sure, me too. Shinmiri is like, I have the utmost respect for Shinmiri as a caster and an analyst. I think he's like the best Gwent has to offer in terms of casting talent, and I'm also super stoked to be working with him.
Oh, those are some really sweet words that you've given each other, for sure. Alright, so apart from how you guys feel, how are you guys preparing for the analysis? Would you mind sharing, or is it a little private? It's fine if it's private.
Sure, I mean, I can say some stuff. Like I'm doing the same sort of prep that I've been doing for every tournament that I've been casting or analyzing. It's just playing a lot, playing the popular tournament lists. At this point, we don't have deck lists yet, right? So I'm playing what people are playing in qualifiers, on and off stream. I'm taking notes. I have like a Excel spreadsheet with like matchup strategies and tactics. Something maybe not super basic stuff, but like more advanced tactics that you can see that potentially would be interesting to point out to a viewer base that could come up. Just slightly unintuitive stuff, and I keep notes on this stuff, and I refer to it during the actual day as well. What else? Like when the lineups and the decks come out, I'll practice and play the specific lineups and matchups against each other, against a friend, or just scrim with them and just see what comes up. And that's mainly what I do to prepare, is just try to keep fresh on the tournament scene and familiarize myself with the decks.
All right. And Shaggy, what about you? What is your method of preparing for this?
Well, I mean, I've been like kind of already preparing for it by like preparing for the qualifiers this month by playing in the World Cup and just also like familiarizing myself with the meta as much as possible. And obviously, I'm like neck deep in Masters preparation and helping out with the prep myself. So I'll definitely have like gain a lot of insight from that. And yeah, like the main part or like the main workload of the prep will be once all the deck lists are out, once all the lineups are submitted, and I have like access to all the deck lists. What I try to do is like reach out to all the players and like get them to give me a few minutes to talk to me about like what their plan is with the lineup, what they think they will do well against, what they think they won't do so well against, and obviously like playing as much as possible with all the decks in the tournament and also trying out to figure out the lines. So far, like Shinmiri, obviously it's a good idea to just like keep the notes on like the more advanced stuff so you don't forget. Like so far, like whenever I've figured out like some unusual line that is really good in the current meta or like in current matchups, I've just like trusted myself to remember it when the time comes. But that's like probably a little bit optimistic, and yeah, to be safe, I should probably also start writing all that stuff down. So I'm not sitting there with like a blank mind when the time comes, right?
Yeah, like I was
I
gonna
wanted
ask...
to add.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanted to add something that Shaggy mentioned about like talking to the players and asking what their strategy is and stuff like that. We definitely do that every time as well. And I have a funny, like, it's kind of funny when the tournaments were still in person. Me and like the other casters would sit around in a dark room and like invite each player to come into the room one by one. Be like, hey, Tailbot, come in here, and we like kind of interrogate him about his strategy and get his insight. And then when we're done, we're like, okay, all right, we're done with you. Bring the next guy in.
So it's like
kind of
like an interview, kind of like an interview process, kind of thing.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I don't know. It's not. We just intentionally kind of made it intimidating for some reason. I don't know why, just as a joke. But we were like all sitting around, and we would make the. it's actually not intentional. But we were just sitting in all the seats, and there were no seats left. So like the player coming in would be the only one standing, and we just like sitting around a circle.
Wow. Okay. So that's
a bright light in their face.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, keeping secrets is pointless. We'll find out anyways.
But there was no
clean. It's time to come clean.
But there was no such thing as good cop, bad cop, or anything, right? I mean, were you guys?
Oh no,
nothing like that. Okay. It's like, are you sure?
I'll be the bad cop, and Shinmiri will be the good cop.
Oh yeah, if we see something like that in this Gwent Masters, I'm sure people would love that. Or as some people would like to see in chat, 2 bad cops. Why not, right? But yeah, again, Shaggy, coming back to you, like the Excel thing, like weren't you doing that at one point as well? I think even on stream once, I think in one of the seasons, you were literally taking notes, literally on stream. I saw that. But you're saying that you stopped that like after that season, or is it like you don't do that anymore? Like that Excel sheet?
Yeah, I've kind of like, it doesn't take a ton of time, but like a lot of the information I found myself writing down, I didn't really get too much out of, and most of the stuff that I did want to remember, like almost all of it, I did actually remember, so I kind of lost motivation to do it. But that would be definitely a good way to like just remember everything and like make sure you don't forget anything when you see like, okay, in this matchup I should have played this way in this situation, right? But the thing is also like, just due to the fact that it's a card game where like the opponent is going to have a different hand in every game and you're going to have a different hand in every game, memorizing exactly one exact spot is not always like super helpful, because next game is going to be a little bit different spot, and then it's going to be a different spot again, right? But surely like I just feel like the experience like that I make, and like the important mistakes or like the important things that I feel like that I see and that I realize by playing, I can remember like basically almost all of them, like the little tricks for all the matchups and the macro decisions. I usually don't find myself forgetting that stuff, so I just like lost motivation for the spreadsheet, but it would still be like probably a net positive to keep it up, I just have lost motivation.
Right. And like when it comes to analysis, this is your first proper tournament, yes? like when it comes to analyzing?
Come again?
When it comes to analyzing, is this like your first proper Gwent tournament?
Yep.
Right,
I've never been an official caster. Like the only thing I've done is cast some Aretusa Gwent League games in the past, and like not as an analyst but as a caster. So it's really like something new for me, but it's also something that I think is like basically like the perfect thing for me, because as I said, like even if I was not being like an official analyst for Masters, I would be sitting there and analyzing every game and like looking at all the plays and everything anyways. So yeah, I feel like it's just gonna be like an opportunity for me to basically share all my thoughts and all the insights that I have due to like being an OG Gwent pro basically, with everyone watching the broadcast. So I think it's just a really cool opportunity, and yeah, it's gonna be something new, but also something I feel pretty confident about.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure you'll do great, because apart from analyzing, you are a great player on your own. So you can definitely be seeing lines, you know. Oh yeah, Prage over. Yeah, sure. But like, you know, like yeah, you can basically see lines, you know, ahead of time. Maybe that okay, maybe he'll do this in the round, and you know that sort of thing definitely helps. And I'm sure that's what even got you the spot in the first place, because they know how good you are, right? So on that fact about Masters again. Do you think that Gwent will be like more on the radar and be more competitive and see more of an impulse because of a tournament of this caliber happening? Like, do you think that that'll happen, guys?
I think there is already a increase in player base and viewership from the lead up to this tournament, especially with Life Coach coming back to the game, right? I've noticed that he's brought a lot of people with him back to the community, and that was the case the first time he started playing Gwent too. I mean, I personally was a Hearthstone converted from Hearthstone because of Life Coach back like 4 years ago. So yeah, I think we're seeing that on Twitch already and in the player base.
Oh, okay. That I didn't know that actually. Okay. And Shaggy, how would you like to comment?
I have this Age of Empires 2 meme in my mind right now, where there's like this priest, Wololo, converting everyone from other card games.
Life Coach is the Wololo.
But yeah, I think it also depends a little bit on just the advertising. But yeah, Shinmiri's point was great, that like Life Coach returns to Gwent is definitely gonna bring a lot of new eyes, because like Life Coach just has a pretty big following in terms of like just card game interested Twitch viewers who are also gonna be like excited to see him on the big stage. And the tournament has like a huge prize pool, which is also gonna like make some people be like, oh, hey, look at that. That's like these guys are playing like for a ton of money here. That's like pretty exciting, right? And yeah, it also depends like a little bit on how much CDPR is gonna advertise the event ahead of time, right? Like if they're just gonna do a Twitter post or two, it might have like less people watching than if they actually did like paid advertisement for that, which I'm not sure if they're doing or not. But yeah, I definitely think that people are gonna be excited for this Masters, and it's also hand in hand with like cards getting teased right now for the new expansion, right? Like that's a good timing as well, like right Masters, and then right after the new cards drop to like make a fresh meta and give us some new stuff to explore and some new stuff to play with. So yeah, I definitely think it's gonna be like a spike in interest for Gwent.
Yeah, and I think if you see the likes of Life Coach and players like that, of course he did come back and he did start, streaming and getting a ton of viewership for Gwent. Actually, it was insane. It kind of skyrocketed right overnight. So now if you see, he's not streaming at all. He's doing this kind of offline preparation, and you can see that he's, I think, gone into this mode of being really serious. And I think he had even mentioned that even if he does win the tournament, that all of his money or whatever he wins will go in donation or whatever, because of COVID and things like that. So he's not really, pushing to win the money, but maybe, of course, pushing to win the title, of course, of being the first ever Gwent Master, right? The World Master of Season 1. So, yeah, it's going to be definitely fun to see how he's going to be bringing his lineups, because if he says he's not serious, well, he's definitely going to make it spicy then, right? All right. So
I don't think he's not serious. I think he's very serious. I think
I think
his personality,
from
what I've seen, is like if he's gonna do something, he's gonna put his 100% effort into doing it well.
True.
So yeah, I expect good things from him. Sure.
Yeah, that's definitely life coach's way. Like life coach, I've met him and interacted with him in the past, right? Like for example, at the Gwent slams back in the days, and he's just the kind of person that if he sets his mind to do something, he will give 100%, and he will like go in. Like his ego wouldn't not allow him to turn up to World Masters with like a garbage lineup and making garbage plays, right? He's gonna do his best to prepare for the tournament for sure, and like try his best to win it as well, I think.
Yep, true. And Energiix, what would you like to say on that? I've seen you've been a little quiet, so what would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, like I think the viewership, if you just see on Gwent right now, is already increasing. I think the World Masters is actually just gonna give a big impulse on the popularity of the game, and I hope that actually the competitive scene also gets an impulse, and you see more people actually trying to get to those qualifiers and qualify for the big stages. So there's more competition. I think more competition is always better. Also forces the other people to become better players if there's new players around who are stepping up the game.
Yep, totally agree. All right, so before we get on with more on that, let me quickly put up the contestants on the small screen here who we will be seeing at the Gwent Masters. So we have Life Coach, we have Freddy Babes, Tailbot, Demorcus, Magpie, Adzikov, Colamon, and Game King, right? And Game King, I think, has been active in the World Cup as well. He has been taking part. We have seen him play, and he has been playing well, surprisingly. And I think he named himself Backseat Gamer, right? To really hide himself from the ladder and not be seen out in the open. But
now you exposed him, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Hard work renaming himself.
Well,
down the drain.
Well, he exposed himself in the World Cup, so you know I'm just pointing it out to people. So, all right. So in this whole 8 players that you see here, guys, what would you like to see? Which specific matchup would you really want to see out of these people? It's a really lovely lineup.
First of all, I want no R2's team kill in the quarterfinals. So Damorkis, Adzikov, and Colemon have to play against people who are not each other in the first round. That's like my main requirement. And then 2 of them have to be in one side of the bracket and 1 of them in the other. So 2 R2's people can play in the finals. That's like my main requirement for good pairings here, basically.
Yeah, same. Like, I feel like these guys are all such good players and all such legends of the Gwent scene that any pairing would be satisfactory. I do also, with the Team Aretusa bias, I do hope that they don't face off against each other in the quarterfinals. But yeah, nothing super specific from me.
Okay.
Fasting Fred is mentioning a Freddy versus Life Coach rematch from Challenger. What was it? 2 or 3?
2. It was 2 because Life Coach basically won Challenger 1. Yes, and Challenger 2, Freddy Babes basically swept him off. I think he beat him 3-0, right? And he just took it away from him. So yeah, I think Life Coach is out for some blood, isn't he? From Freddy specifically. So yeah, I think that is definitely an interesting matchup which people are wanting to see.
I think Freddy versus Magpie would also be very spicy since they're the most famous for bringing more off-meta tournament decks.
Yep.
And seeing them face each other could be some really spicy matchups.
Yeah, it's like we won't even know how it's going to go, right? Because their lineups will be so confusing. I'm just wondering, how are you guys going to analyze that stuff, Like, you don't know what Magpie is thinking and how he, what's his idea behind the deck. It's definitely something unique. So, like, I think maybe Colamon and, the likes of Colamon and the likes of Demorcus might bring stuff like Kelly and Araha Swarm. I think that is usually what they, stick with in so many tournaments. But knowing that, maybe Magpie will bring something even more spicy to counter that, right? But okay, for me, let me give my matchup. I would like to see Tailbot going up against Adzikov, in my opinion, because I feel that Adzikov is definitely doing really well on ladder. If people have not seen yet, he's actually been doing really well. So, and Tailbot is basically relaxing comparatively because he's already in the December tournament, right? I think he already qualified. So
Yeah.
he's relaxing as well. So yeah, I'm interested to see how Tailbot and Adzikov are going to go up against each other. At least that's what I think. Okay, so coming down with that,
One more. I actually
Okay.
disagree with the Energiix. I don't want to see Freddy versus Magpie in the first round already because I want to see them like play their super weird off-meta lineups against like normal, quote-unquote, normal lineups first to see like how they perform against like the proven, tried and tested meta decks, and then they can face off against each other in like a pile-off, right? That would be the ideal case for me.
Yeah,
Totally agree.
I think we're seeing a lot in the chat as well, right? That people are saying that, I think it's Tailbot's tournament to lose, right? Because I think Tailbot is definitely easily the most active Gwent player in history, maybe. Like when it comes to old Gwent, current Gwent, he's been taking part in everything, right? I think he's played in every meta out there, right? Maybe some people have taken breaks, but I think Tailbot has never taken a break, has he? Or has he? I don't remember, but maybe he'll be in a Masters tournament and then he'll take a break. So that's totally different. And if you see, I think Sonailin has a point there that Tailbot and Colomon definitely have a huge advantage because nobody really knows how long it takes to get to the competitive from almost zero. And Life Coach has basically never played Homecoming, right? So, but of course, Life Coach is working hard. He's definitely doing a lot of preparation, and we can definitely see that he is on the ladder. I think he's top 300 as well. And Freddy as well has been playing really well. He even qualified for the top 64 this time, right? For this month's qualifiers. So it's really hard to say, right? Like we have so many thoughts going in your head that this is going to happen, that's going to happen. But in the end, who knows? Who knows? Whoever has their right mindset, I guess, on the day is the one who will be victorious. But
yeah, and speaking of predictions, I think they're planning on doing the divination challenge again that they originally did for when World Master Season 1 was first announced last year, but it was canceled due to COVID, right? I think there might be like that same prediction thing where once they'll release like the matchups in the bracket, and then they'll have people guess who's going to win with what score, and if you get everything right, you can win like a huge amount of cosmetics prizes and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's coming back. That's interesting, guys. Take note. I'm definitely going to be taking part in that. But all right, so coming back to the contestants, Life Coach and Game King. All right, so these two names really old, but they're coming back for this amazing tournament that's happening. Post this tournament, do you think they're going to stay in the community? Do you think they're going to stay?
Who knows? It's going to be totally up to them. I hope they do, obviously. I hope they do. It's great having them back. I think it'll depend on probably like how well they do in the tournament and how much fun they're having with like the new patch that releases right after Masters.
Okay. And I think Shaggy did mention in the beginning that I think you said you have a certain idea of the lineup that they might be bringing. Was that what you said? Just confirming.
No, that I have like very little idea.
Very little idea.
Like.
Okay.
I know that Life Coach likes playing like his own decks, right? Which are not necessarily like hard targets or like super off meta, but just like he like looks at the cards and he like has his own way of looking at them sometimes. And if he thinks this card is just really good, then he's gonna play that card, right? And no matter what everyone else plays, like Life Coach always likes doing his own stuff. And Game King is, for the most part, he just wants to play the best stuff, right? Like, I know that Game King, but it was an interesting situation with Game King, like right after Homecoming, he had to get first on ladder 3 seasons in a row to make it to this Wild Masters. And the Madman actually did it, just like first on ladder 3 seasons in a row to get the necessary crown points to qualify for this tournament. And he just also did this, like playing the best lists out there, right? Like definitely hard to predict what Life Coach and Game King are gonna do in this tournament, though. Like, are they gonna bring like more common meta lists with like their own kind of techs and their own little card choices that they think are better than what's currently being played, or are they gonna like make their own decks completely from scratch? Like, it's hard for me to say. Like, it's hard for me to just predict. Okay, like I can predict for Magpie and Freddy that it's gonna be like some off-meta stuff. I can predict maybe for Tailbot that he's either gonna bring like solid decks with his own decks, or like he's also gonna like maybe play some of his own stuff, right? Like, but further than that, it's like similar for Life Coach, Tailbot, and Game King. Like, they're gonna bring some of their own stuff, but what kind of stuff that is, how unconventional, to what degree, is very hard to say.
Yeah, like that was basically what I was coming down to, right? We like try and predict what each player is going to bring. Like, that was literally going to be my question. So as you said, Life Coach likes to play his own things, so we could be seeing something totally new, right? We could be seeing some weird synergies with some weird, who knows, leader wise maybe he'll stick to Pirate's Cove or Line Pockets when it comes to Syndicate, because I think we all know that Syndicate is going to be in everyone's list, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would be super surprised if there wasn't like 8 out of 8 Pirates Cove, or maybe like 1 or 2 players play Line Pockets because they want to be better against Keltulis with their lineup. But Syndicate, either Line Pockets or Pirates Cove, I would predict 8 out of 8 for sure.
For sure, yeah. And I think Life Coach will be taking in his favorite card, Bincy, right? Maybe, because like Bincy has been a card in every single deck that he's built. It's like, you know, he clicks new deck, the first thing he puts in is Bincy, and then he makes the whole deck around that card, you know. So he plays his own kind of draft mode, even on ladder, you know, with that one faction. But
Life Coach also, he also really likes Grand Inquisitor Helvide. He was. I saw him trying out like the Helvide plus the Blindheim Brothers combo. If you get it out at the beginning of a 10-card round, you can like have a ton of like self-poisoning gaining you coins, which will then allow you to create more tokens with Helvide, which will give you more targets for self-poison, which will then give you more coins. So it's like it's a pretty sick like 3-card combo at the beginning of a long round.
And basically no one thought
that combo is so sweet, man. I have to tell you guys this.
Okay.
I played against Freddy on day 1 of the top 64 qualifiers in best of 3, and he played an elf list with no heatwave and no lock. So I went into the long round with Cove against him and played the 2 brothers and the Helvide and just pressed everything for 60, 70 points in the first 3 cards of the round. And Freddy got like completely bamboozled because he had never seen that before. He told me that was super funny.
Wow.
The Helvide combo definitely, like, it's pretty easy to disrupt, but if it sticks, it's like such a huge point ceiling, and the cards are like pretty good anyway, so there's not like a huge opportunity cost of playing them. It's definitely a nice idea that Life Coach had there with the Helvide edition.
It's also spender that goes wide, which is nice.
Yeah, usually, going wide and not tall, I think right now is definitely the way to go, but because I don't think we see Araka Swarm anymore on ladder, right? So, do you think that anyone will bring Araka Swarm from these names? Maybe Colomon? Like, what do you guys think about Colomon bringing Araka Swarm? He brought it to the World Cup.
I don't know about like specific players, but I think Araka Swarm is definitely still a consideration.
Yeah.
It just depends on what you're targeting, what you're trying to be strong or weak against. Araka Swarm, I think, especially if you're trying to figure out some sort of like syndicate target, could be pretty good. Or if you're expecting more people to bring Nilfgaard, which like last open, Araka Swarm was good against Syndicate and Nilfgaard specifically. It's not so good against Skellige, and it's a little bit weak against Kelly now that they're teching Double Forktail, but I think it still can be a very, very powerful deck with a lot of points that can't be controlled by your typical damage removal, tall punish sort of answers.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to Swarm, why people get scared is, I think, something like what even I faced today, which is, Horson Jr., right? Ever since they gave him this buff of Devotion, giving you that 6 damage of regardless 6 damage with the boost and or whatnot, he basically just removes Swarm like it's nothing, right? If you have the coins, he just kills all the drones like 1, 2, 3 and they're all gone, right? So with Syndicate being a confirmed lineup, would Arrakis actually be good?
I'm not that. I don't think Horson Jr. actually punishes Swarm that much, or Arrakis Swarm particularly, because if you spend 3 coins, the drones, then you're getting 3 or 4 points on your drones for every 3 coins that they spend to kill one, right? And so the drones basically, they don't get that many more points than 4. Anyways, 3 coins is worth about 4 points in that deck with Sea Jackals. So, like, yeah, if they deny you a 1-point drone with 3 coins, that drone's getting 4 points anyways, and it's not going to be going to much higher than that, even if you have like double Bone Talisman Yen.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Like,
AQ?
Horson is really strong against elves because killing Elven Deadeyes plays for so many extra stats on all the elf payoffs, like Van Ossiel and Isengrim, for example. But against the Arrakis Swarm, they can usually don't care too much about losing a 3-point drone. Like, they play another Swarm spell and then they play a Talisman and so on. Like, they can basically refill their board quite well. Like, the threat of Syndicate against AQ last patch was that Syndicate had like the tunnel drill set up, and the tunnel drill killed those drones really efficiently. Like 2 coins to kill a 3-point drone, and now they have to spend 3 coins to kill a 3-point drone. And even the old Syndicate deck couldn't really like contain the Swarm from Arrakis most of the time. So I do think that Horson is not too big of a deal for Arrakis, and they can usually handle it quite well and don't lose too much value to it either.
The thing is that with AQ, people are also soft targeting, and some people are even hard targeting elves, and then AQ also gets hit with the Reckless Flurry deck with the Lamberts and Gertz and all the white punish. Then AQ gets hit, I think, even harder than elves in that certain case if they target white decks.
Exactly, it's quite funny that lineups that try to target elves, maybe they have 60-65% against elves, but they actually have 80% against Arrakis, because Arrakis cares much more about like Lambert and lacerate effects, while elves can very efficiently hide those stats and only swarm like in the last turn of the game or in the last 2 turns and avoid the swarming quite well. Another thing elves can do is really with cards like these big provision cards, right? Like they save full leader and like a Radea and a Oak in a short round, and suddenly they beat like those decks in a short round that have like a deck full of row punishes that don't actually do that much if elves manages to attain the round control there. So I think elves is really a lot more resistant to targeting than Arrakis Swarm, and as such Arrakis Swarm is also the riskier deck to bring.
Yeah, that's the thing. And if they think that Arrakis Swarm is going to be played, I would think maybe, just maybe, Magpie will bring Lambert, maybe. But that will be it'll be a flop show if Swarm is not seen, right? Because then Lambert just plays for around 8 for 10, and then Bane will be crying in the corner, which of course we do not want. But I think apart from Colemon, I wouldn't see anyone bring Arrakis Swarm, because he felt confident with it even in the World Cup, bringing it to the World Cup, right? If I remember correctly, that's what he played. He played Arrakis Swarm, and he actually looked good with it. But if you see the likes of Demarcus, do you think he's just going to bring solid meta lineups, or will he be trying to change it up a bit, like how you said he did in one of the qualifiers that he played, right, or the challenges that he played, where he literally teched against everyone playing Point Slam engines? Do you think he's going to have that similar mindset here as well?
I mean, I think all these players are going to be exploring the possibility of bringing such like hard target lineups or very thematic lineups. But at the end of the day, it just depends on their testing and see how effective they believe these tactics, these strategies are. So, and it's still kind of early. Like they still have, I think, 4 or 5 days before they can submit their deck list. So, plenty of time for things to switch around. So I don't know personally, but I'm excited to find out for sure.
Oh yeah,
it's nice. It's nice that as a caster analyst, we do get like the deck list a little bit early so that we can practice and figure out the ins and outs of the lists.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to say it's like super hard to say like, okay, Damorkis is gonna go for like an exploit strategy again, and Colemon is gonna bring a Raka Swarm, right? Like, I mean, obviously, like I can't talk too much about TA prep, like I can't leak anything or something. But
that's
what
why
I can say is that
that's why I mentioned if you know anything
like
about it, do not
the
say.
players are just gonna like they have like a lot of resources for like testing and figuring out lineups, and they're just gonna bring what they think has the highest chances of winning the tournament. And if it's gonna be a greedy strategy, if it's gonna be a Raka Swarm, then that's gonna be it. But it's very hard to like predict something like that accurately for sure.
Yep, and that's why it's called a prediction, right? We're just trying to see and trying to think about how they would approach it. But is there anyone who we've missed? Is there anyone who we've missed and we're like, okay, this person might bring something interesting? I would say maybe, well, Magpie we know is going to bring spicy stuff. He might even bring blood money for all we know. But, you know, for Syndicate. But other than that, maybe Adzikov. What would you say would be Adzikov's mentality from previous tournaments and things like that?
Can I interrupt, Tubi? Yeah,
Sure.
actually, that's I'm a good question in my mind now.
Oh,
Do you think that people might bring a weaker Syndicate deck just so it doesn't get banned?
Oh, we've seen that
Is that
strategy in
ever
the
an
past
option?
before.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
I don't remember
think
which
Tove is
tournament.
just so strong into all the matchups right now. Like, what if they just make a deck that's a little bit less strong but still Syndicate? But because Syndicate is just sitting in such a good spot right now.
Wasn't there a qualifier tournament where like Piable or someone brought a peasant militia in one of their lists to
I
like
was about to
bait?
mention exactly that. I think it was Bravesh who in the meta where Hidden Cash was by far the strongest deck in the game. He put exactly one peasant militia into the deck. I mean, nowadays in this Devotion Syndicate, the peasant militia is gonna mess up the deck a little bit more than it did back in the days, but I could definitely see something like that. I think it's not gonna happen, but it would be a very cute idea, and I'd definitely love to see it.
Just to bait people into not banning a super strong deck because it looks janky or it has some weird card in it that makes it look weaker. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Okay, and coming back on Atsikov's thing, what do you think he's going to bring? He's also been a really old player, kind of, right? He's not really a new one. He's definitely he's played Homecoming Gwent, and he's played it on quite a good level as well. So do you think that is he a kind of guy who sticks to the meta? Because I think he's the only one who we haven't talked about much. So what do you think he's going to bring then? Like, just an idea. I'm not saying you have to be on the money with it. Even I'm not able to think, to be honest.
I think Atzikov is gonna bring some kind of Scoia'tael deck. Atzikov is a Scoia'tael lover, man. He loves the elves and the dryads and the dwarves. They're all his little friends, and the ends he's gonna bring all of them. That's my prediction.
Maybe Joseph says Adzikov is an old man now. That doesn't mean you can't be good at card games. What does that have to do with anything, BJ? Oh, yeah. But okay. I guess with prediction, again, it is really hard. So I think we've done as much as we can in that department. And we're definitely going to be seeing spiciness. We're definitely going to be seeing some really spicy head-to-head battles with some all-time revenge also coming up. Who knows? With the likes of Life Coach and Freddy being there. But Iluha says he will take Cloggers for sure. Energiix, did you hear that?
Cloggers is still strong. It's just not good in the tournament.
Wow.
I guess it's motivated because Atikov actually, like, I think 2 qualifiers earlier this year did decide to bring Cloggers when this was like the time where this double cross ball list was one of the strongest decks in the meta. So I suppose he was like, never really liked that ball deck in particular, probably, and that's like why he brought Cloggers to those qualies. But I think for Wild Masters it's gonna be like a little different, and if it turns out that Cloggers is not the best choice to bring to Masters, he will not do it, right? If it turns out Ball is the best deck to bring to Masters, he will probably get over himself and like learn it as well as he can, and because there is a lot of time to prepare for Wild Masters in total, right? Like the players had like a little more than a month in total to prepare for the tournament. Like you have time to learn a deck even if you're not that comfortable on it at the beginning.
If it takes somebody bringing Cloggers to World Masters and winning with it to get that mechanic nerfed, that is a price I'm willing to pay.
That is actually a good point. Yes, if that takes if it takes the tournament in one fell swoop with a lot on the line, yes, I think I would agree with that as well. And Energiix will be really upset, but I don't care. Like
it's just an easy climb in the beginning of the season.
beginning of the season, you're still playing it. But anyway, all right, guys.
It's not working now.
Oh, I see. So you're giving up. Okay. But I guess with that said, I think I have kept you guys for long enough here because, well, it's what the allotted time I promised you. So, with that said, we are going to be ending here, guys. It was a really, really lovely podcast here. You guys were absolutely... Okay, Shaggy, I caught it. Okay, so, it was really lovely to have you guys here. Shin, you were amazing as always. You never roped the question, thankfully. You answered it on the spot. Shaggy, amazing as always. Nothing more to say. And Energiix, stop playing cloggers.
Thank you guys for having us. It was a pleasure.
It was great to be on, guys. Had a lot of fun.
Thank you
for having me, everyone.
Catch these guys.
Talk about the upcoming World Masters.
And catch these guys on the Gwent World Masters, guys. They are amazing. And wait, before we go, guys, where can we find you? Shinmiri, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Shinmiri2, so the number 2 at the end. I stream every weekday starting around 10 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. CEST.
Okay. Shaggy, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitch with the same name that is displayed here, ShaggyCCG. I'm streaming very regularly right now, but right after Masters, I'm planning to pick up streaming every day again. And so, yeah, you'll probably not find me online until after the Masters event, but I'm going to be back to streaming.
Amazing. Energiix, can we find you anywhere?
Well, I do some very rare Twitch streams sometimes. You can find me on Energiix. I might do one in the future.
All right. Soon. But the thing is, I think your Energiix on Twitch is 3 eyes, right?
Yeah, it's 3 eyes.
Yeah. That's where people get confused because everywhere it's double eye and then Twitch is 3 eyes. So yeah, you should mention that. But anyway, guys, again, thank you so much. The chat was amazing. You guys were amazing, and I cannot wait for Gwent World Masters. We will be seeing you guys soon with episode 8, so be sure to check out the socials for that. Take care, love you all, and stay safe.
And we're doing another giveaway for a subscription to the Bandit Gang YouTube channel, and the winner is... Oh, exciting! Woo! The winner is... It's you! Woohoo! You just activated subscription down below. Congrats!